What's up, Instagrammers and YouTubers and Facebookers and everybody on social media? What is going on? It is now a Friday. I think it's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Australia. Sitting here, actually I'm standing here, looking at my engine because I actually ended up pulling it out. I will show you guys a little snippet so you guys can keep up to date of what's going on. So here it is. So now that you're all caught up to speed on what happened, I am going to show you how to prep a motor for paint or polishing or whatever you want to do to the motor. So I'm going to be stripping back the intake manifold, all of the pulleys, pretty much besides probably the crank because it's very, very hard to get the crank pulley off. Yeah, I'm going to take the engine mount off, I'm going to take the wiring loom off, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do that. I've already removed my gearbox, so unfortunately I can't do a DIY video for you guys on the gearbox, but if you guys have already pulled out the engine, I'm going to show you exactly how to prep it. Alright, so now that I've had my lunch break, I can quickly show you what the engine looks like. I did spray the engine before in this cast iron color. It's a VHT color if you're wondering. It came out pretty nice, however, I want to go for the bling bling, you know, like something really out there. So I'm actually going to be changing this color because it's a little dull for me. I'll show you the back of the engine too. Don't mind the wiring. This is all getting tucked again. Long story short. The wiring had a short in it, my last harness, so I had to just throw on an OEM one. So this is pretty much it. This intake manifold is going to get changed, so this has got to come off for good. Got to take off this fuel rail. Might change the injectors as well, so I'm going to upgrade that. Going to upgrade these pulleys here. We're going to go, of course, K-tuned. We're definitely going to go K-tuned. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Might as well get into it now. What you'll need to pull off all the pulleys is a bunch of spanners, preferably in metric, because I'm pretty sure Honda don't use imperial very much. And you'll need some sockets as well, pretty much just to save you some time with the spanner work. But the spanners will help you get into the little places you can't really reach with the socket. So you'll need these two main items. I've got some gloves over there too, because I don't want to get my hands dirty because I'm going out later. So I'm going to start with, oh yeah, we need some Allen keys. I just had to grab some of these Allen keys here just to take off the fuel rail, because it is an aftermarket K20 fuel rail. Usually with the OEM one, you will only need some sockets, preferably, I think it's like 10 or 12 mil. It's not too hard to remove. So pretty much just going to go ahead and take the fuel rail off. Okay, so I just checked, it is a 6 mil. Okay, there we go. Pretty much after you remove these two bolts and you remove all the plugs at the back of the rail should just come straight out, because I've removed all of my fuel lines already. You just got to be a bit careful when you're removing it, because you don't want to split the O-rings on the injectors, because otherwise that will be annoying and you have to go get a new one, and it's just pointless. So just taking care when you're removing these. If you have these Allen key bolts, you don't want to strip the insides of the heads. However, these are pretty strong, so should be all good. I'm just going to remove these injector plugs. Okay, and also 2 washers fell out from behind of my Allen keys. I just use that as a bit of a spacer. So I'm just going to go ahead and put them down. If you're a person that likes to bag and tag things, go ahead. I don't really need to, because I've done this a few times, so I just keep all the parts together, you know. You'll also need a 10 mil. Sometimes these can be a bit tricky, these plugs. You'll need a 10 mil to remove this earth off the intake manifold. So yeah, so there's 4 plugs and 1 10 mil. There we go. Okay. When it's pretty much cracked, you can just use your finger to remove this bolt here. And what I always do when I remove something, I always just like to put the bolt back in the, if I can. So now this should be ready to be taken off. So give them a good wiggle. If you need to, hold the injectors a little bit, like twist them out. There we go. Okay, so some injectors have stayed in. That is not really going to matter anyway. So that's the rail. The injectors go into the rail. That's actually a section where you can run a center feed if you want to. So instead of running the in and out on these sides, on the left and the right side, you can actually run through the center. So now I'm just going to go take these injectors out. I'm going to remove this engine mount because it's going to be in the way when I want to remove these pulleys. I'm not going to take it off the bracket because it already has been torqued onto it and it is like ultra tight. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this bracket if I can. I don't know if it's possible, but there's 3 bolts here that I'm going to remove. I'm assuming they're either 12 or a 14. They look more like a 14 mil here. Okay, so instead of using a uni joint to get to this bolt, what I've done is I've just used a spanner and that fits literally right in there and you'll be able to take that bolt off. I want to show you guys as well a little bit of a technique that I learned because I am a female. It sometimes is a little bit hard for me to get some like bolts loose. So what I do is I attach this spanner. And what I do is I get a bigger ring side of the spanner and I actually interlock them like that. And then you've got like so much more leverage. So pretty much then when you loosen it, you have more leverage to like take off that tighter bolt. And that's exactly what I just did. So I thought I'd show you guys that as a little tip. So this engine mount has the 3 bolts as I showed you. And it's just come straight off that side bracket there. So now we have enough room to get to those pulleys, which is awesome. Now I'm going to show you how to remove the belt of the pulleys. This is super easy. I don't know if I can do it one-handed, so I'm going to put the camera down and I'm going to show you, but you do need a 14 mil. Let me just double check that. Yep, so you need a 14 mil for the pulley that has the tension on it. So when you tighten it, the pulley actually moves back and allows you to remove the belt. So it's just like a tension pulley. So if you guys didn't know what that is, that's what it does. That's better. Okay. So now what you do is, see how that's moved there? So now I've got enough slack to remove that pulley. And it just comes straight off like that. Not much to it. I'm gonna remove all of my pulleys. So you start with this top one here, which is 2 bolts. You'll need an extension for this one, like a medium size extension, because it's in a odd spot. So just use a little bit of extension there in these 2, and then this one should come right off. It's almost off. They're relatively long bolts, so it will take you a little bit of time to take them off. Let's see if I can. I actually have like a selfie stick type thing, and I've just got you guys. Actually, believe it or not, the selfie stick is hanging out of my pants right now. Don't mind me, I need 2 hands to do this. Okay. So what I do, like I mentioned before, is I leave the bolts inside the part, and I just like put them away, just so I remember that bolt's for that, you know. And I just put them right there. Alright, next pulley. So I'm going to take off this one here that actually holds the idle tensioner on it, and then these 2 sections should come off together. Definitely tighter than I expected. Now the alternator is a really funny one, because the alternator has bolts that are like front on, so I'll show you guys that in a second. By the way, I'm not running AC on my car, so you will not see an AC compressor. I'm pretty sure all K20s come with an AC compressor, so you'll definitely have to remove that if you're not running AC as well, but I can't show you, unfortunately, because my one's packed away. So there's a 12 mil in the center here that you will also have to remove. So if it's not coming off, it's because there's another bolt in there. So just don't forget that one. Okay, that one's off. Just going to put the bolts back in where they belong. So now we're going to be taking off the alternator. This alternator has front bolts. It's very hard to get to if you have this motor in the car, so I definitely recommend, if you want to strip the whole motor, take it out. It's much easier. It'll only take you like a day to take the motor out. 1, 2, 3. Uno, dos, tres. Now, we remove them, and it should pretty much come straight out. Okay. Okay. So what I just said not to do, I kind of just did. I almost dropped the alternator. I totally forgot to unplug the sensor. That's your alternator sensor plug. And yep, those 3 bolts. It's very heavy, guys. Like for me, I don't know about you, maybe you're really strong, but for me that was pretty heavy, so be careful not to drop that. Okay, now we're looking at the intake manifold. I'm going to remove that bad boy so we can get back to the block. Pretty sure, let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got 4 bolts on the top to remove, and if I remember correctly, 1, 2, 3 on the bottom. They're a bit hard to get to, but now that we've pulled out the pulleys, it shouldn't be too hard. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove them now. So they are 12 mils as well. I just want to let you guys know that sometimes it is a little bit tricky to get the intake manifold off because of these threads. Now I'm actually going to take one out of the motor and I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do that. It requires 2 of these nuts, so I'm actually going to remove one side and then put it on this thread here, but for now I'm just going to remove these 2 and this nut here, and then I'll show you what to do with that thread. To remove one of these threads out of the engine, the thread is just this thing here, you will actually need 2 12mm spanners. Now, you've got one here that's actually on at the moment, so I'm just going to loosen that a little bit. So what I've done here is I've actually used this nut of that other thread and I've put it on backwards. See how they're both spinning free? I've put them on backwards towards each other. Now you need, like I mentioned, you need these 2 12mm spanners so you can actually get them on there and tighten them together. And then you'll be able to loosen it because this binds together and then locks on the thread and then acts like the actual head of a bolt. And then you can just go ahead and actually turn it, like loosen it like it's a normal bolt, and one of the threads will actually come out. Okay. Let's see if that worked. Yep. So now that's working. The thread's actually coming out of the block. Give you guys a closer up look. Sorry, my camera's not very good, but you can see the thread is actually coming out of the block. So it takes a little bit, but you might actually be able to use your hand to remove it, and then that's it. The threads come out of the block, and then you can actually take these off. Okay, so there is a bottom left one literally in here. I can't show you because my GoPro is not that technical. However, I'm using a really long extension and I'll be able to loosen it through this hole. So I've actually gone through the top with the uni joint and I'm actually removing the middle bolt this way. So with the bottom right hand bolt that's underneath the intake manifold, I do recommend using a spanner, 12mm for sure. Way too hard to get in there with a socket. Okay, the last 3 bolts are off. This is now free. It's hanging by a thread, literally. And I'm just going to go and remove that manifold. I'll need 2 hands for it, so you guys are going to have to chill. And also, I totally forgot, there is a crank breather hose that needs to be removed, so you'll need some pliers for that. If you kind of twist it enough. Yep, there we go. Mine was very, very easy to take out because it has been taken out before. There we go. I may make a part 2 of this video. I'm not sure yet. Because I'm getting a little tired. And it's only the afternoon. So this here is for your knock sensor. To check if you're pinging or not while you're driving. And obviously tells the ECU, hey dude, I'm knocking, and put me in safe mode. So that's what that guy does there. I'm going to take this off now. It is only held on by, let me see, 1. We've got, looks like we've got some 3 bolts there. So 1 at the top, 2 at the top, sorry, right there, and 1 at the bottom there. And again, it's another 12mm. So once you take that off, pretty much this whole piping here, I think may go with it, to be honest. Yep, definitely a 10mm. I've probably been sitting here for about 5 minutes trying to figure out how to get that back bolt off. So I'm going to tell you how to take it off because it took me 5 minutes. Extension, put a uni joint, and then put the 10mm socket, and it should be able to come out because you can't get in there with a spanner. It's like almost impossible. Okay, so all the thermostat housing bolts are out. Now that that's sorted, I'm going to remove this place where the temperature sensor is located. So that requires 2 bolts, and then all of this here should just come straight out. Now that I've pulled out that, yeah, as I mentioned, everything will just pull out and coolant just went everywhere. Not cool, get it? Okay, I'm gonna go get myself some cardboard, hang on. Alright, now that you have seen pretty much how to take off all the pulleys, the intake manifold, the fuel rail, and the thermostat, plus the piping, this is what it should look like. It should have most of the front bare. I'm gonna leave the water pump there because I don't see the point of taking the water pump off unless I have to. I will probably make that decision in the part 2 of this video. I still got some wiring that I want to take off, and the headers are off, and I got to drain the oil out of my engine still, but you can get the gist of it. So in the next video you'll be seeing pretty much how to properly prep it, like sand it back, clean it, what you should be using, removing the rest of the wiring loom, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I also, before you guys go, I do want to show you something a little special to me. And it's important to me because if you don't know already, I'm running a graphic design business called Tiana Creative, and I'm also running a business called Unlucky Ones, a clothing business for car enthusiasts. Sorry, excuse the mess on my desk. However, I wanted to show you guys a few of my new stickers that I have in stock. So this is my holographic one. It's called Holo Sheen, and you can see that there's an OG one that I have listed, and I have this one as well, which is really awesome. It's got like a jaggedy black and white background, and this one's actually my favorite because it's got the red and it looks absolutely awesome. So please, if you haven't already, check out my website. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my videos, and I will see you in part 2. Bye guys.